Welcome to Bent TV. I'm Andy McNamara. Tonight I'm speaking to Brenda Appleton, who is from Transgender Victoria. Welcome, Brenda.
Thank you, Andy.
Brenda, I'd like to ask you about your aged care training work. First, let's start with why we need it.
The LGBTI, so the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender and intersex communities are increasingly using aged care services. And we are finding that the majority of people, perhaps as high as 80 or 90% of LGBTI seniors accessing aged care services are going back into the closet.
Wow.
And they're doing that because they feel that they will get an inferior service from the service provider because they are LGBTI.
Because of discrimination, or just because, and also because of lack of understanding of the needs?
So some of it's going to be ignorance, some of it is discrimination, but basically it's a lack of training and a lack of awareness, I guess, of the baggage which some of us have as we enter aged care services, and the history of discrimination that we've had, the history of abuse, and isolation that so many LGBTI. So about 18 months ago, nearly 2 years ago, the government set aside money to provide training to aged care providers.
Right, this is Victorian government?
No, this is the federal government. And the National LGBTI Health Alliance, based in Sydney, was allocated the money, and they developed a training package through ACON in Sydney, and then TGV and Gay and Lesbian Health Victoria, GLHV, were successful in tendering to be the training providers across Victoria. So TGV will be providing funded training for about 40 sessions over a 2-year period through to June of next year.
To aged care workers?
To aged care, the aged care sector, and it provides them with awareness of LGBTI issues and how they might provide an LGBTI inclusive service.
And can you, I guess, communicate to us some of the issues and how the service can cater to the needs of LGBTI people?
So, well, one of the great things is that the government is requiring all aged care providers who get federal funding to provide an LGBTI inclusive practice from 1st of July this year.
Wow.
And therefore, organisations need to get their policies, their procedures, and their training and practices up to speed. The Australian Aged Care Quality Agency is going to be reviewing the accreditation of aged care providers, including questions relating to LGBTI inclusive practice. And this adds some real teeth to the requirement for them to be doing more than lip service and to in fact be providing an inclusive service. So some of the issues that we're looking to address is making sure that intake forms are correct. So therefore, in the case of trans people, just having a male and female box to tick could well not be sufficiently inclusive. Similarly, talking about husband and wife might not be appropriate for a lot of LGBTI who have a partner.
Yes.
And therefore, organisations need to sort that sort of thing out. They also need to get their language right, they need to be much more inclusive, and they need to ensure. One of the biggest issues that aged care providers face today is potentially a homophobic reaction from fellow users of the service. And therefore it's highly desirable that the staff are trained and they know what to do if there's an emergence of that sort of behaviour.
Aged care is a competitive business on a pretty tight margin. I think just in some cases, just providing the service is a challenge to the business. So it's good the government has enforced some sort of, we can measure you and, you know, you better be up to it. Are you confident that the aged care sector is taking up the LGBTI cause and understanding it and running with it?
Not yet. We're disappointed that the training's necessary, but we think it's going to be necessary for at least the next 10 years.
Right.
And unfortunately, the government funding expires in June of next year and hasn't been renewed at this stage. I think we've had great response to the training that we've provided.
Yes.
But we've only scratched the surface in terms of the aged care providers. One of the things that's great is that this training is across the whole of Victoria. So we'll be doing between 35 and 40% of our training sessions outside of Melbourne.
Fantastic.
And it is fantastic. So shortly in July we're getting down to Gippsland. Then in August we're getting over to the Grampians.
Great.
We're going to get to Mildura. We've already been to Shepparton and Wodonga. We've been to Geelong and Frankston and Ballarat and Bendigo. So it's just fantastic that there is such a coverage for it. And of course the needs there right across the state.
It's one of the last bastions of discrimination, I think. I'm sure there are other ones, but it's been slow changing up till now, so it's great to hear that.
Yeah, and for so many LGBTI, we've grown up in the closet and then we've emerged out of it at some stage. But to think that people can't be themselves and they feel it necessary for their own best interests to go back into the closet in older age is very sad.
It is very, very sad.
Oh, it can't be allowed to continue. And so we're very supportive of the regime that's there at the moment.
Great. Brenda, thanks for telling us about that work and thanks for being a part of it. Thanks for making a difference to our world. It is fantastic. You're watching Bent TV. I'm Andy McNamara and my guest has been Brenda Appleton.
Thanks, Andy.